health conditions caused by excessive alcohol usage. And the earlier we begin to take care of that environment of the health of the alcohol situation in our country, like I was saying, that excessive alcohol consumption leads to a plethora of health challenges, some of which I've already listed, including liver diseases, pancreatitis, cancer, ulcers, immune system dysfunctions, brain damage, osteoporosis, heart diseases, and accidents. And when we look at our domestic environment, we see that the pricing of alcohol products makes it so available. It is somehow ingrained into our culture. Some of our traditional rites have alcohol or even specific brands of alcohol embedded into it. So what the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria sets out to do is to right these wrongs, to ensure that we evolve domestic policies, domestic legislation, domestic practices that will ensure that we cater for the health needs of our people. One thing I'd like to point out before we forge ahead, because that will give us an idea as to what we're up against when we say we're going to move against the alcohol industry in this country. Nigeria spent almost $250 billion, that's to be precise, 208 billion on various alcohol products. 208 billion on products that will actually endanger their health. So you can only imagine if this amount was put to better use, the positive impact it will have in our society. Now, this 208 billion was not spent by, it was spent by all Nigerians, even the poor. And ironically, it's actually the poor that even consume more, that needs to have their health protected. So we can never really overemphasize the need to put in a policy framework and a regime that will ensure that alcohol harm is minimized in Nigeria. You will all be shocked that across the world, let me give you an example of what happens in Europe. The 10 countries that alcohol is cheapest in, ironically, are about the 10 poorest countries in Europe. And this includes such countries as Ukraine, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Slovenia. They are just like the 10 poorest countries. And in same Europe, the 10 countries which have the highest cost of alcohol are the richer countries in Europe. England, France, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland. The regime is such that alcohol is priced such that the health consequence of alcohol is borne by those who consume it. Now, this will give you a broad framework of what we are out to do, what ASAAHN is set out to do. And I will not be going into much detail because we have resource persons who will be addressing these issues from various dimensions. ASAAHN will set out to help to ensure that there's a policy framework, there's a legislation and other issues that regulate or minimize alcohol harm in Nigeria. You're all welcome once more to the launch. We know it won't last more than an hour. We are joined by personnel of the Federal Ministry of Health, the World Health Organization. We have Professor Obot, a very respected expert in alcohol issues and drug issues. And we also have the executive members and board members of the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria. At this juncture, I'll be calling on Mr. Franklin Umenze. Mr. Franklin Umenze will expatiate more on what the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria will be doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ezeigwe, for that very brief introduction. And so I just want to quickly talk about the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria, what the objectives are, what we hope to achieve in the future, and what we've been able to achieve in the short course of our existence. So this is the mission and vision of ASAAHN is to create a coordinating, sharing, and supportive platform for non-governmental organizations and civil society organizations, developmental professionals that are working on alcohol-related harm to influence governance and invariably promote evidence-based alcohol policy development and implementation in Nigeria. Our objectives include to promote and facilitate information sharing on alcohol and alcohol-related issues, to also initiate, facilitate, and conduct research on alcohol and alcohol policies and programs, to empower young people to become advocates in reducing the harm due to alcohol and through dialogue across our culturally diverse Nigerian populations, and also to strengthen the capacities of the CSOs and the developmental professionals in alcohol policies and programs. So part of the objectives of ASAAHN is to also support and strengthen partnerships between various member organizations and between member organizations and the Nigerian government on the implementation of alcohol policies and programs. We also hope to facilitate the access to financial, human, technical assistance and resources that are required for the development, implementation, and evaluation of alcohol policies and programs. And lastly, to help those with alcohol addiction, to help them with their rehabilitation. Okay, just a brief history of how, on how ASAAHN came to be. The idea was born in 2016, a meeting in Botswana. At the meeting in 2016, and there was this side meeting between some members of the CSOs from Nigeria and Mr. Issa from Ghana, and also from Obende International, and the idea of West African alcohol policy was sort of born, and that's what happened in 2018 in Sierra Leone. We had WAPA that was launched, and to be a member of WAPA, it's expected that every country should have a national alliance, and that way they can become members of WAPA. And so, for instance, in Nigeria, that gave birth to the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria, which is the umbrella organization that brings together various CSOs that are involved in alcohol to liaise with the government and other important stakeholders and to promote evidence-based alcohol policy in Nigeria. And so WAPA is also present in 9 of the 15 West African countries. So for example, in Sierra Leone, we have the Sierra Leone alcohol policy. In Liberia, we have the Liberian alcohol policy. And in Nigeria, we have the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria. In 2018, at the Crystal meeting, we had an alcohol forum meeting. Ms. Amadi was there from the Federal Ministry of Health. And from that meeting and with other negotiations with WHO also very much involved. And the first alcohol policy meeting for the first time in Nigeria happened in 2019 in June. That was a lot of effort also from the Federal Ministry of Health. We had the meeting, and a draft alcohol policy was made at that meeting. Currently, we are reviewing that draft policy, and hopefully sometime this year we will have our second alcohol policy meeting. The hope is to get past the second policy alcohol meeting and then push it out to the National Assembly. Okay, so let me just go ahead. I can't get a slide to move on, but that's just a brief history. So in summary, the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria is just the umbrella body where we hope that every civil society organization, developmental professionals that are interested in alcohol policy issues, are interested in alcohol issues, can come together and have a common voice. And with that common voice, we can have discussions with, say, the Ministry of Health and with the WHO country office. And this way we can drive for and push for an alcohol policy. And of course, this policy has to be sort of free from any alcohol industry influence. It also has to be tailored towards the WHO best buys, and also the very, very recently SAFA, which entails regulation on advertisements, on taxation, on drunk driving, on also some other fiscal measures. Now, the future directives of ASAAHN is one is the membership drive. That's very key. We hope to admit as many members as possible, member organizations, as much as possible that are interested in alcohol and alcohol-related issues and issues when it comes to alcohol policy. One of the other things we want to do, and as a future directive, is also to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Health and the WHO country office to push for a second alcohol policy meeting, and also have this policy pushed on to the National Assembly. And we also hope to do a lot of work on research, because we know very well that part of the problem in Africa is a lack of evidence to push for these policies. And so we are really passionate about the research. And so we're going to be very much involved with it. We're going to also ask the members to also that have interest in alcohol and in research to also please signify, and then we can take it off from there. Part of also our future directive is to also go for resource mobilization and youth advocacy. And hopefully, in the very near future, Nigeria can actually have a policy, an alcohol policy that would protect the young ones, that will regulate how alcohol is advertised, that will put some price and some sort of fiscal measures on, like increasing the taxes, and from the taxes, it can use part of the funds also to fund some health programs and also help with rehabilitation. And hopefully, we hope that this is what ASAAHN will be able to achieve in the nearest future. It's also very important to note that it's quite it's open to CSOs and NGOs and developmental partners and that are interested in alcohol and alcohol-related issues, but they have to be devoid of any alcohol influence. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, I guess as we walk along, we'll get to understand what ASAAHN is more about.
Dr. Franklin Menze. We have also here my very good friend from Ghana, Mr. Issa Ali, who is coordinating the West African Alcohol Policy Alliance. We'll be having once we get notice, we'll put on, the Minister of Health has declared interest in also giving a goodwill message. WHO here will also give a goodwill message. Dr. Benjamin is here for WHO. So at this juncture, I'll be calling on Mr. Issa Ali, who is joining us from Ghana. He's coordinating the West African Alcohol Alliance policy. Now, while the views of our brothers from West African region is very critical, is this. We have a common policy in ECOWAS, which also covers not just free movement, but also goods and services. So that it's very critical that whatever goes on, in whatever we have in Nigeria tallies with what also rhymes in Ghana and other West African countries, because with the free movement of goods and services and persons, it is very likely that we can be easily impacted. So at this juncture, I will call on Mr. Issa Ali, who is the head of Secretariat of the West African Alcohol Policy Alliance, to address us briefly. Issa, take over.
Thank you very much, Attorney Ezi, for the brief introduction. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Good. Thank you very much. Actually, Dr. Franklin has actually introduced, giving a background about WAPA, but I will briefly try to move a little faster to get to my main topic. Once again, I'm Issa Ali, the head of Secretariat of the West African Alcohol Policy Alliance. Next slide. As you know, the West African Alcohol Policy Alliance is a coalition of civil society, National Alcohol Policy Alliance, and public health professionals, meaning that you might not be a member of our NAPES, but if you are, let's say, a public health researcher or practitioner, which you are not a member of any NGO, we can allow you to join our network. And we have two major goals. That is, one has to do with advocating and assisting in the development, implementation, and enforcement of evidence-based alcohol policies and programs, which we've been doing this in a lot of countries like Ghana, in Nigeria. We'll be supporting our partners in Liberia, hopefully to review their public health acts to include a strong provisions on alcohol control. And also, WAPA is involved in monitoring and sharing information on alcohol and alcohol-related issues among our members, development, and international partners. This is very important because without gathering of intelligence, there is no way we can be able to match up with the alcohol industry. As we know, the industry has been working along a common front, though they are, I mean, they are different entities, but in terms of extending, in terms of market research, in terms of penetration, they are more or less well coordinated. So as civil societies, it's very important for us to coordinate ourselves. Currently, WAPA is operating in 9 countries out of the 15, and we are making efforts to expand to the other 5 countries. In Ghana, we have GANAPA, Alcohol Policy Alliance Ghana. We have APAG in the Gambia, that is Alcohol Policy Alliance Gambia. We are also present in Guinea-Bissau, and our partner is GUAPA, Guinea-Bissau Alcohol Policy Alliance. And in Burkina Faso, we have Upper Burkina, that is Burkina Faso Alcohol Policy Alliance. And lastly but not the least, our newest member, that is BAPA, Benin Alcohol Policy Alliance. Yes, next slide. In terms of structures, WAPA is operating within 3 levels of structures, that is at the national level, regional and international level. At the national level, we have the NAPES, that is NAPES General Assembly. That is, this is a structure which is supposed to have been established in almost all our member countries. We have the General Assembly at the national level, which consists of CSOs, NGOs, CBOs, and the board. National alliances are open. They have the free will to also include other people that can advance the cause of our campaign. So under the General Assembly in a country, we are expected to also have a board of directors. In other countries like Sierra Leone, they call their structure, that is a Sierra Leone committee. Others to also named it executive committee. They are all within the bracket of board of directors. They implement the decisions of the General Assembly at the country level. Lastly, at the national level, then we are expected that at each NAPA will have a national secretariat. So the board of directors supervises the work of the secretariat. That is at the national level. When you come to the regional level, that is at the West African level, we have the WAPA General Assembly. That is the highest decision-making body of WAPA at the regional level. And it is consists of reps from National Alcohol Policy Alliance and board members. I want to make this point clear. The General Assembly of NAPA consists of a rep from national level. So currently, we have representatives from all the 9 member countries. This is ensure transparency and accountability, and also to ensure that local experiences or environmental factors are considered whenever we are developing policies, programs at the regional level. We also have WAPA Board of Directors in place, which was officially inaugurated and constituted in Sierra Leone in 2018, January 2018. We also have the WAPA Secretariat, which is based in Accra, Ghana. At the international level, WAPA is affiliated to the Global Alcohol Policy Alliance, that is GAPA. Next slide, please. Now, coming back to my main presentation, that is the alcohol situation in West Africa. Normally, the World Health Organization has been producing reports, I think every 2 years. The last but one report was published by WHO in 2016, which provides current updates to countries in terms of alcohol issues. So today I'm going to talk a little bit, or let me say West African specific, in terms of the global status report on alcohol and health. That is the latest report issued by WHO in 2018. Before the next slides come on, the next slides give us an idea of alcohol policy situations in West Africa, and also the number of consumers and also the number of abstinence. Now, when you look at the country bracket, you can see we have all the countries in West Africa, from Ghana to Niger, making up the 15 West African member countries. When you come to the second line, that is number of consumers, that's 15 years and above. These figures were obtained from the WHO Global Status Report on Alcohol and Health. So these figures were reported from the countries, that's from the Ministry of Health. So this is a real figure that we obtained. You realize that in the red, you can see that is this per population, the number of the percentage of people consuming alcohol in each country. You can see Ghana reporting 26 consumers, Nigeria 52, Guinea-Bissau 20. So let's say many of those countries, at least, let's say 1/4 of their population are actually consuming alcohol. Whilst we have others which are reporting low consumption, other countries are recording higher consumption. And we believe that there are some environmental factors contributing towards it. And if you look at the percentage of abstinence, that is 15 years and above, you can see other countries report, let's say most of the countries are reporting above 70% abstinence. The challenge is this is one of the key reasons why the alcohol industry is now focusing in Africa. They've realized that in Africa, they have a lot of market. Why? Because majority of African population, or let me say West Africa, are actually not consuming. So if they can increase the number, they can increase the consumers, definitely the number of abstinence will be coming down. So our focus as a civil society or a regional network is to ensure that we increase the number of abstinence. So the more we increase the number of abstinence, that means the lower the number of consumers will be. And automatically, we will be taking away the market from the alcohol industry. So we are calling on our members, all our alliances, to ensure that we increase the number of abstinence so that the industry will not have much way or much market to operate from. Good. Then you come to the last bracket, that is the alcohol, the national alcohol policies. It's unfortunate. Let me say, it's unfortunate that out of the 15 member countries in Africa, we can only boast of 2 current national alcohol policies. 2 current. When you look at Niger, the last time they developed one was 1983-84, and in Cote d'Ivoire, 1954, and reviewed in 1999, and Benin also recently had another one reviewed in 2013. So you can see only Ghana and Cape Verde in 2016, which have, let's say, a comprehensive alcohol policies. But let me make this remark that, yes, we know that all the countries have legislation specifically on taxation. They've been taxing alcohol, yes, importation and production. What we should know is that the purpose of that taxation or those tax laws were purposely for revenue generation, not purposely for public health reasons. So what we are now pushing for, we need national alcohol policies in all the countries based or mainly based on public health perspective. So if we do that, we should be able to do some changes, change the figures in between the abstinence and the consumer. Next slide. I want to zero in to Nigeria because today we are inaugurating the alliance in Nigeria. So if you look at Nigeria specific, according to the data reported by WHO, 52%, let's say 53% of the Nigerian population, 50 years above, are consuming. And in terms of abstinence, we have 47% abstaining. And if you look at the bracket, though I won't say unfortunate, it's good that the government of Nigeria is doing the right thing. But currently, Nigeria has no national alcohol policies. And we are aware a lot is being done to develop one, which the first meeting has taken place and is being reviewed. So I will say that we are confident that if Nigeria will be able to develop a comprehensive national alcohol policy, we are saying comprehensive based on other factors. I will raise it in my next slide. So we believe that if Nigeria as a country will develop and adopt and implement a comprehensive national alcohol policies, then the miracle should take place. We should be able to reduce the number of consumers and increase the number of abstinence. So we are confident that will happen. And next slide. Let's also be mindful that whenever initiative or a policy initiative takes place in Nigeria, definitely it takes effect in other countries. So, for instance, in the areas of tobacco, when there were a lot of actions in Nigeria, it trickled down to Ghana and other countries. So, we are seriously and anxiously looking at Nigeria to provide the leadership in terms of alcohol control within the sub-region. Next, good. Yeah, on my next slide, we're now dealing with alcohol-related death. And we've listed the liver disease. We have liver diseases, road traffic, and the cancers. So these are the reported figures as in the WHO report in 2018. You can see Ghana reporting around 2,000, Nigeria 42,000, Cote d'Ivoire 4,800, and the likes you can see. So these deaths are per 100,000 population. These were reported from the Ministry of Health, which was captured and published by WHO. Next slide. Good. When you get to the next slide, I tried to rate the top 4 in terms of the death. If you look at the death as per the liver diseases, you realize that Nigeria contributes, that is, Nigeria reported 42,000, and Cote d'Ivoire reported 4,800. Then Ghana reported over 2,000, then Burkina Faso. So if you look at the rating, the number of people dying out of alcohol diseases, that is in terms of within the bracket of liver, that is liver diseases, Nigeria within the sub-region is number 1, followed by Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Burkina Faso. But when you move into the second bracket, that is the road traffic, which is being caused by alcohol use. Whilst Ghana is reporting over 1,000, Nigeria is reporting over 15,000, followed by Burkina Faso reporting 1,006 and Cote d'Ivoire 1,007. So if we rate, that is looking at the numbers in the black stars, that's where I'm doing the rating. So you realize that still, whilst Nigeria is still within the West African sub-region, reported 42,000, that is the highest in the sub-region. Again, in terms of road traffic death, Nigeria too is on top, and still followed by Cote d'Ivoire. In this case, Burkina Faso is the 3rd, then Ghana is the 4th. So you realize that once a lot, the top 4 within the liver death are the same top 4 within the road traffic death. But before I move into the cancer bracket, I want you to look at Senegal. You realize that in terms of the liver death, Senegal is reporting 253. That is people dying out of liver disease being caused by alcohol. Almost in terms of road traffic, the figure has doubled. Meaning that whilst they are reporting, let's say, half in terms of the liver death, a lot are dying on the road. It's the same situation in Mali. Whilst over 400 people are dying out of the liver disease caused by alcohol, over 700 are also dying on the road. Then lastly, if you look at the Niger situation, a lot of people are dying on the road being caused by alcohol as against the liver diseases. So this is one of the reasons why we as WAPA are advocating for a comprehensive policy. You see, if we have a policy which is not comprehensive, you only add if then what happens to the road safety angle? So this is one of the reasons that we are urging countries to at least ensure that the national alcohol policies that are coming up, they must be comprehensive. They should be able to address all the aspects of alcohol related. Then lastly, in terms of the cancer, we can still say that yes, according to the reported figures from the 2018 status report, Nigeria is still reporting higher per 100,000 population. Then Cote d'Ivoire is reporting second. Then Ghana is reporting third. And Burkina Faso, 324 are also dying of cancer being caused by. Good. Now we move on to the recommendations based on the next slide, please. Yes, based on the above situation, we've seen the number or the percentages of the abstinence in the countries. Then we've also seen the percentage of the consumers, those consuming, and we've also seen the alcohol situation, that is the alcohol policies. And it's a fact that within the sub-region, a lot is not being done. We are lagging behind in terms of comprehensive policies to address alcohol harm in West Africa. So at the WAPA level, we are recommending the following. At the national level, we are recommending that at least each country should have a national multi-sectoral coordinating committee. We expect that this committee should have or should consist of almost all the major ministries, department, agencies. Alcohol control is not only a health issue. It is issue of finance. It's issue of corruption. There's issues of social. We need a Ministry of Youth. We need a Ministry of Finance. We need a Ministry of Gender. We need a Ministry of Trade. We need all the relevant government agencies to make up the National Multi-Sectorial Committee so that whenever it comes to the implementing policies, we will not be lagging behind. Everybody will be involved. And secondly, we are calling for the development of a comprehensive national alcohol policies and implementation plan. We are seeing a situation in our region whereby policies will be developed, nice policies exist, but when it comes to implementation, nothing happens. So we are calling as WAPA, we are urging and appealing to our government, our ministers, our ministries, to at least ensure that after developing a comprehensive national alcohol policies, we also have implementation plan backing it so that we move from policy to action. The citizens must benefit from the investment being made in the development of national alcohol policies. So these are the two key things that we are requesting that at least each country should have. Also, we've been coordinating with WHO Afro region to also at least support countries to meet their obligation. We know some countries will be in need of technical assistance, and we are also engaging WHO to do that. When you come to the regional level, at the West African level, we know we have good structures working, and I'm aware that even whilst we now have the health issues being coordinated under WAO. ECOWAS has a specialized health agency called WAO, and WAPA has been working with WAO to ensure that alcohol control is prioritized at the regional level. So one, we are calling for the development of a regional strategic plan on alcohol control. Currently, we know we have a strategic plan on mental health, which has some provisions on alcohol, but it's not that comprehensive. We are not, I think last year, WAO ECOWAS organized a meeting which actually prioritized alcohol control, and a lot of the technical officers there actually made good proposals. So we are hoping that at the national level, the implementation will take place. And
yeah, we are almost running out of time. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm done. I think this is my last slide. So we are also calling for information sharing system at the regional level so that as civil society, when we are able to obtain information, we can share. And at the global level, consultations are ongoing on the development of the action plan on global strategy on alcohol. So we are calling on our governments, Nigeria, Ghana, the rest, Burkina Faso, to play a major role throughout this process. And also, we are calling for a global That is the Global Convention on Alcohol Control. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and congratulations in advance for the inauguration of ASAAHN. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's Issa Ali from Ghana. He's the coordinator for and the head of the Secretariat, West African Alcohol Policy Alliance. At this juncture,
we can hear.
Yeah, we cannot. Can we? Is Dr. Benjamin, who works with the WHO office here in Nigeria, ready? Let us hear him while we try and rectify the problem with Dr. Ezeigwe. Dr. Benjamin, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure being here with you. Like you rightly said, my name is Dr. Benjamin. I work as the mental. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. We are hearing you.
So I work as the mental health program officer here in the WHO office in Abuja. So greetings from the WHO rep for Nigeria. So in line with protocol listing for the meeting, governments, representatives of organizations and institutions and associations. Okay, I said, let me just start by congratulating the leadership of the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria for this landmark launch. You all will agree with me that the role of civil society is crucial as they will collectively advocate for effective alcohol control, and at the same time, they will monitor and report on activities of the alcohol industry, and they would also help to galvanize actions among other issues. I acknowledge the leadership of the Federal Ministry of Health for their unrelenting support in putting in the necessary frameworks in place to reduce harmful use of alcohol. This includes, but not limited to, the 2019 to 2025 NCD Multi-Sectorial Action Plan and the National Alcohol Policy, which is currently under development, as you have rightly pointed out, and which the World Health Organization has fully supported. I also commend all stakeholders involved in moving the alcohol control agenda forward in the good work. Quickly, I would like to remind us the following. One, non-communicable diseases, as we all know, are responsible for an estimated 41 million deaths globally. Like I said, 41 million deaths globally. 7 out of every 10 deaths globally. A large number of these deaths are premature. So you have people between 30 and 69 years dying from NCDs. Just to say that the cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, cancer, chronic diseases account for these deaths, and they share common risk factors. And one of the very major risk factors is harmful use of alcohol. Others are tobacco use, physical inactivity, and unhealthy diets. According to the 2018 WHO Global Status Report on Alcohol and Health, alcohol consumption was responsible for an estimated 3 million deaths globally, and it also contributes to over 5% of the global burden of disease and injury. Just to end by letting us know how WHO has helped to fill in some of the gaps. So these are some of the contributions by WHO, but is not limited. For the sake of time, I will just mention about 5 things WHO has done. One, WHO has helped to develop the global strategy to reduce harmful use of alcohol from 2010 to 2020. A new strategy is currently being developed to start from 2022. And then 2, development of the 2013 to 2020 NCD Global Action Plan, where one of the targets includes at least 10% reduction in the harmful use of alcohol as appropriate within the national context. Some of the best buys for alcohol includes increased excise taxes on alcohol beverage. We need to enact and enforce bans or comprehensive restrictions on exposure to alcohol advertising. And finally, we need to enact and enforce restrictions on the physical availability of retailed alcohol, which we know it's so common in the West African sub-region. And then the global information system on alcohol and health, the data on levels and pattern of alcohol consumption shows that alcohol attributable and social consequences and policy responses at all levels. Second to the last point I would like to talk about is the fact that the inclusion of alcohol reduction in the SDGs, the SDGs specifically targets 3.5, which aims at strengthening the prevention and treatment of substance use, including narcotic drug abuse and harmful use of alcohol. Reducing alcohol use is also directly related to SDG 3.4. From time to time, WHO develops the global status reports on alcohol and health. The most current one is for 2018. This report gives an overview of the levels and patterns of alcohol consumption. And last but not the least, most recently, WHO developed the SAFER package. I think Dr. Franklin has alluded to the SAFER package. Please, you can Google that to get more information about the SAFER package, which is an initiative to reduce death, diseases, and injuries caused by the harmful use of alcohol using high impact, evidence-based, and cost-effective interventions. In conclusions, once again, I congratulate you all for the launch of this association, and we look forward to engaging with you all. Thank you for listening.
Let me quickly just call these interim executive members, and I will give the floor to Dr. Ezeigwe to just please quickly give us some from the ministry and also to launch ASAAHN. Okay, so the members are Barrister Chinelo Uchendu, Mr. Nura Abdullahi, Dr. Franklin Umenze, Mr. Olusenshan Oshati Mehi, Ms. Kumoche Jennifer, and Mr. Uday Christopher. It's very key to also state that this is also an interim offer and interim position. The hope is to have a structure over time, and we can have an election and have these offices completely filled up. So with that said, I'll quickly leave the floor to Dr. Ezeigwe to please give us some word from the Ministry of Health and to also launch ASAAHN. Dr. Ezeigwe, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry my internet is quite unstable, and I had to run from the ministry to the position where I am, and it's still the same. So the Honorable Minister has asked me to be here, and I bring you greetings from him. And he says to tell you that he is delighted to be part of this event, but virtually, at this launch of the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria. I will quote him word for word. He says, I am impressed by your resolve to unite against one of the foremost risks to public health, and salute the courage of the organizers to put this through in spite of the unusual situation of COVID-19 pandemic. Alcohol has been with humanity and has been widely used in many cultures for centuries. However, it is a psychoactive substance with dependence-producing properties, the harmful use of which is not only injurious to the user, but also to the family members, friends, co-workers, and others, with significant health, social, and economic burden on the society at large. Alcohol consumption is associated with a risk of developing over 200 disease and injury conditions, which I'm sure all of you already know, including mental and behavioral disorders, non-communicable diseases such as cirrhosis, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, as well as injuries resulting from violence and road traffic accidents. Alcohol has also been linked to higher incidence and worse prognosis of infectious diseases, such as tuberculosis and HIV and AIDS. It is also linked to poor maternal and fetal outcomes in pregnancy. And I'm sure you know about the fetal alcohol syndrome and numerous preterm birth complications. Globally, 3 million deaths every year result from harmful use of alcohol, representing 5.3% of all deaths. According to WHO status report on alcohol and health in Nigeria, the per capita consumption in liters of pure alcohol increased from 11.5 in 2010 to 13.4 in 2018. This may be underestimated because aside from beer, fine spirits, and wine, traditional beverages such as palm wine, burukutu, ogogoro, pito, and different others are difficult to track and are widely consumed in both rural and urban areas. Furthermore, Nigeria scored 4 out of 5 in attributable years of life lost to alcohol. This burden of diseases and injuries linked to alcohol is of great concern to the public health community, and I believe this also prompted your organization to take this bold step today. Alcohol control is entrenched within the Sustainable Development Goals, specifically Target 3.5, which is strengthen the prevention and treatment of substance abuse, including narcotic drug abuse and harmful use of alcohol. It also negatively impacts 13 out of 17 SDGs and 52 out of 169 targets. Therefore, if not adequately tackled, it will be a major obstacle to development. On the part of government, strategies to reduce the harmful effects of alcohol include setting legal minimum drinking age of 18 years, setting the maximum blood alcohol concentration to 0.05%, and recently the increased excise duty rate for alcohol beverages, including beer. The ministry, in collaboration with other relevant stakeholders, have commenced the development of the national alcohol policy and looking at a number of strategies, to achieve their aim, including the regulation of the marketing of alcoholic beverages, regulation of availability of alcohol, reducing demand, taxation, and many others. I'm sure some of you will be part of that process as time goes on. I wish to now congratulate you for this bold step and commitment towards reducing the burden of harmful use of alcohol in Nigeria. The Federal Ministry of Health will be available to collaborate with you in providing enabling environments and the technical assistance you might need in the course of your work. It is now my pleasure and honor to inaugurate the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria, to the glory of God and the service to humanity. I congratulate all of you. God bless you all, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ezeigwe, for that, and also to the Minister of Health. And that's a very warm and very receptive message. We hope to continue to engage the ministry and WHO and to see to it that an effective alcohol policy that's based on the WHO best buys is implemented in Nigeria. So very briefly, I'll just also call out the Board of Trustees, and after which I'll give the floor to Professor Obot to give us some closing remarks, and we can call this launch so for the Board of Trustees, we have Barrister Eze, Dr. Franklin Umenze, Mr. Nelson Ejiomo, Mr. Ojam Kenechukwu, and Mr. Valentine Oko. We'll hand over the floor right now to Professor Obot. Professor Obot, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for that. It's been a while, but I'm happy that this has happened. We now have a policy alliance in Nigeria. Unlike other West African countries, there is no APA in the name. Everybody has APA. We are known as ASAAHN. Now, this is, I think, the right time for this to happen. A lot of things are happening globally. Last week, the WHO held a very important meeting, a meeting of technical experts to develop a plan of action to assist in the implementation of the global strategy. We met for 3 days, long meeting virtually, but a very important meeting. This is, of course, as if you follow what happens in Geneva at the World Health Assembly, it was the World Health Assembly that mandated the DG of WHO to set up this plan to develop an action plan and also to produce a technical report on marketing. So a lot of things are going to be happening this year, next year. The action plan is supposed to cover the period between 2022 and 2030. So there is a lot of work to do, and we need ASAAHN to be able to contribute in any way needed to the development of this action plan. There'll be meetings in countries, in regions. Alcohol is a problem. We all know that. We listened to the presentation by Isa and also by Franklin. We know that alcohol is a big problem across the world, a growing problem in Nigeria and many West African countries. And civil society is needed. We are needed to contribute to the solution. And it is for that reason that I'm really happy that what has happened today has happened. I think we need to thank the WHO. We need to thank the Minister of Health. Mrs. Amadi, you haven't said anything. You should say something. You've been doing very well in the development of the national policy, which we are still waiting for the completion of the work, but I can see it happening sooner than later. So thank you very much for your involvement. Issa, thank you for being part of this. And I noticed that Mrs. Alage Jane has joined us from Gambia. I want to thank you for doing that very much. So the work has been cut out for us. I regard this as the beginning, a beginning of serious work, beginning of building up the association, which has a long name and difficult to pronounce sometimes. But I think we are all prepared because we recognize the challenges that we have faced, the challenges posed by alcoholism, the challenges posed by the alcohol industry that we need to keep an eye on all the time. So thank you very much for a great day, for a great meeting. And Franklin, congratulations to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Professor Obot. Thank you for that one message. And since Professor Obot has said, let's give Mrs. May Amadi like a few seconds to say something. Please, I'll give the floor to Miss Amadi. Please, if you're around, can you just say hi to us, please?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I said thank you very much for today, Dr. Franklin, for what and your team have done. We thank you. We want to thank also Professor Ubot for being here for us. I want to thank my director, Dr. Mrs. Ezeigwe, for attending this meeting. I'm very happy. I say, may God bless all of you as we forge ahead in the prevention of harmful use of alcohol in Nigeria. God bless you all, and God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Franklin, I also noticed Dr. Ibanga of the UNODC is also here. I don't know if Dr. Akadimodo Ibanga would be willing to say something, a few words, because it's also also going to be part of this process as we move on, and it's been very helpful in the issues of drug abuse and substance abuse, alcohol is also a substance. So, Dr. Ibanga, I don't know if you would like to say a few words before we go, because we know we're already long past time. Dr. Ibanga.
Just to say, it's a big and a nice feeling and surprise that we are going this far and we've gone this far, and I'm sure things will pick up very soon, and we'll start to cover more grounds with regards to addressing the issues of alcohol and the harms that is done within Nigeria. So thank you everyone for this great move.
Okay, Dr. Banga, ASAAHN will be coming to your doorsteps as we go ahead. We already, like you said, the job is already started, and we will see how it goes. Franklin, make the final comments and then.
I just want to thank everybody. I particularly thank the team that has been there from the word go, the board members, the executive committee. Thank you for so much work. I want to thank everybody that's been able to come from the WHO down to the Ministry of Health. Basically, thank you for coming to represent the Minister of Health. Ms. Amadi, you've been very wonderful, very supportive and helpful. Well, thank you so much for all the work and encouragement you've given us. So Professor Obot, I want to thank you especially. You've been the pillar, and I've always run to you for advice and support, and you've always giving us that listening ear. We appreciate you. And for every other person here, we want to show our appreciation to Mr. Issa Ali from WAPA, to Austin Bake Forot, to Mr. Abanga from UNODC, and our other colleagues from WAPA. I can see Wajana from Sierra Leone and from Gambia too. I want to thank you so much. We're very glad that this has been launched. Positive step. We're not going to rest. We're going to keep moving and keep pushing. We have your correspondences, everybody here. So we're going to get in touch with you as per membership and what our next steps will be. And we'll try and make this very inclusive as much as we can. Thank you so much for your time and have a lovely day.